Oh boy, everybody, I got a little special surprise for you today. The Russell Brunson, that's right, the Russell Brunson, founder of ClickFunnels, best-selling author, Expert Secrets, and .com Secrets. Those of you in the entrepreneurial world, I am sure you know who Russell Brunson is. If you don't, you better go check him out. But he just came into our coaching club, our coaching program in our private Facebook group, read somebody's question, dropped an amazing Facebook Live full of some fire and some content that is going to change my business, and it's going to change your business as well. It's going to make it much better. So I'm sharing that in this podcast. If you want to hear it, stick around for the next 10, 15 minutes or so. You are not going to want to miss this. I spent the last few years building a successful online business while learning from some of the most brilliant marketing minds and coaches on the planet. And now, I've walked away from that business to start over again from scratch. Why? Because, like you, I felt the calling of contribution and the all-consuming need to create a business giving me the freedom to put fatherhood and family first, while fulfilling my calling to share my expertise in order to serve and impact others in a positive way. Join me now as we walk the path together to create the life and business of our dreams. I'm Evans Putman. Welcome to the journey of the profitable, purposeful entrepreneur. Okay, guys, this is an impromptu podcast. I just finished recording another one and something amazing happened. Do you want me to tell you what it is? Of course you do. I was in my 2 Comma Club X private Facebook group, and I looked on, and Russell Brunson just came on and just dropped some supreme value, a value bomb that I had to share with you all. If you don't know who Russell Brunson is, go check it out. Go look him up on online. If you're an entrepreneur, you need to know who Russell Brunson is, and you need to be reading his books too, Expert Secrets and .com Secrets. I don't even have an affiliate link for you. I'm just recommending them because I know you need them. But here's what Russell said. I'm not going to even keep you long, okay? Because I'm following the advice I gave in my previous podcast was not to ramble. So I'm not going to ramble. But here was the thing. Russell jumped into the Facebook group to share some awesome information. He was getting ready for his inner circle meeting with some of the most successful entrepreneurs that pay a nice amount of money to get to be in a room with him and to learn from him on a regular basis. And he came into our group, which we are not in that inner circle, but we are in the 2 Comma Club X coaching group. And he shared some information with us. He saw a post from somebody another entrepreneur, and you may be going through this same thing. I've been through it before myself. Put together an amazing offer, an amazing sales funnel, got it out there, spent some money on Facebook ads, and it just didn't perform. The ads weren't performing. They weren't sending the right people to the funnel. It wasn't converting. And the person writing this just felt like they were just throwing money away. And they really had gotten great feedback on their offer and knew it was something people wanted, but they just weren't sure what they could do in the meantime until they got the ads. They knew they could get the ads right. And you know, with Facebook ads, it is a learning experience. You have to do some tweaking. But until they built momentum with Facebook ads, what could they do if they were on a budget to get people to their offer online? So this is what's really important. And for all of us, this is something that I needed to hear today. And when I knew I needed to hear, I just knew that there are other entrepreneurs like yourself out there that need to hear it too. And when Russell Brunson, we have a saying, and you may have heard this before, but the inner circle people, the people who have won 2 Comma Clubs, which has made $1 million in a sales funnel over a specific amount of time, like I think it's a 12-month period, and also the people that have made 10 million plus in their sales funnels over that same amount of time, all have a saying. And when they say stuff, you generally listen. And what they say is, do what Russell says. So here's what Russell says to do if you're in that situation, and what you can do before you ever get in that situation. One of the most important things he said you could do was to take time, go online, pull out iTunes, find the top podcasts in your category, and maybe across multiple categories too. Find things that may not be directly in your category, but maybe one or two levels off your category, but those same people are most likely going to be interested in what you do and what you have to say. Okay, so you do this before you launch. You should do this as a campaign, actually, before you launch your newest product, your newest service, whatever you're doing as an entrepreneur to make money. What you do is you go in there, you make a list of as many as you can. Start with you don't even have to be the number one podcast that you reach out to, but what he calls this the Dream 100, and this is something he learned previously. So there's different levels of your Dream 100, people that you would love to work with or love to get as JV partners to support you. So what you do is you start with the top of the top. So let's say, like, I'm going to get on Tony Robbins' podcast. Well, that's probably not likely, but put it on your list, okay? Go on and put it out there to the universe, because one day you will get on Tony Robbins' podcast, okay? But then come down and get people that are closer, lower levels, closer to where you are, and mid-tier. And so you get the drift of what I'm doing here. So then come up with interesting stories that you could do to provide value to these podcasters. You want to make sure that they run interview style podcasts, because your goal is to get on in front of their audience on the podcast, because you can do this for free. And podcasters are always looking for information and content and people to interview. We actually loved it. In my last business, we ran an interview style podcast 3 days a week. So we always were looking for amazing people to come on the podcast. And it was as simple as this. You may feel intimidated. I mean, we had an amazingly popular podcast, and a lot of people were intimidated and didn't think they could ever get on it. But here's the deal. We had a link on our podcast page that basically said, you want to get on the podcast, click here. Took you to a scheduler. It asked you like 2 or 3 simple qualifying questions. In our case, you had to be a real estate agent who was making a specific amount of money per year, because we only wanted to share. It was called Pat Hyben Interviews Real Estate Rock Stars for a reason. We wanted to share real value with our audience, and we knew that real value would come from people who had been there and done that. And also, if you were let's say you were a Facebook ads person who ran ads for real estate agents and you were very successful, you could also get on the podcast. But it was that simple. You answered like 3 questions, scheduled a time, and then waited to get on the podcast. But what Russell recommended for you to do, and for all of us to do, is to go ahead of time. Think of ways that you could serve that person when you reach out to them, because they may actually want to have a one-on-one with you before you get on your podcast, or they may want you to fill out a questionnaire. Think of how you could serve their audience. Provide something different. Go back and listen to some of their interviews with their other podcast guests. Find a way that you can be different, that you can provide value that will serve their audience, that will help their audience. Some interesting stories about your journey that will create some sort of emotion or make them feel what you're going through that they can relate to. So stories, serve, highest level, offer something different, and then get out there and reach out to these people. Because one thing he said, and I've heard, now this is funny because I've heard this from Russell, and yesterday I heard this from Steve Larson, another one of our amazing coaches, who is an amazing online entrepreneur, say the same exact thing. And then I can actually say it's 100% true, because I know that from our past business, that podcast listeners, your podcast listeners, or people that hear you on podcasts, are going to turn out to be your best customers. Okay, you getting what I'm saying there? Podcast listeners will become your best customers. Now, I've heard this from 2 people in the past 2 days, 2 people that I respect, 2 people that have the respect of the entire entrepreneurial world because of their success and what they do. And I can also say that I've experienced that as well. So definitely don't take my word for it, but I do have the numbers to back it up, unlike the expertise that these other 2 guys have, right? So I can tell you this is 100% true. Podcasts, one thing about podcast listeners, this is something that I've heard them repeat, and it's something that I believe because I do it myself. Podcast listeners put on their headphones, they listen to a podcast from the beginning to the end, and they're usually focused on what's going on that they're listening to. Okay, it's hard to, sit at your desk and watch a YouTube video and do something else, or maybe even to go run on the treadmill while watching a YouTube video. But in my case, I listen to podcasts while I'm working out. I have my notes app open, and when I hear something, boom, I pause the podcast, I type it in, like, boom, that's a golden nugget, I need to share that, or boom, that's an awesome idea, I need to implement that in my business. That's what podcast listeners do. Podcast listeners are also doers. They are people that take the information that you give them and they act on it. They are entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs love podcasts. These are people that are out there waiting to hear your message and waiting to start trusting you and waiting to be your customer and to take the value that you are ready to give them. So, quickly again, I'm going to jump off, make this short, but I just want to tell you, if you're not publishing, if you're not putting podcasts out there, you really need to be. Okay, and if let's say you're just not ready to get your podcast going because you're spending a lot of time right now in your business, right? Creating your sales offer, creating your product that you're going to get out to the world, creating the service that you're going to share with people to impact their lives, make their lives for the better, change their lives for the better. You're working hard on that, so you just haven't had time to ramp up your audience on your podcast yet, and that's understandable. Well, go out and get on other people's podcasts that are established, because guess what? They have audiences and they have a need for content and quality content. And if you go to them with a serve first attitude, then they are going to appreciate you 100%. And most of them want to put you on their podcast, especially if you can give value to their audience. And I'm going to give you one last little ninja trick here. I heard Steve Larson talk about this, and we used to do this with my business partner was a host of our podcast, and he would do this for other people, and then he would also go on other podcasts and do this. But instead of going to them and saying, hey, I've got this awesome stories, I've got this way I can deliver value to your customers, and I've got this great product coming out, can I pitch it to your audience? No, don't do that. But what you can do is say, is it okay if I give them something for free to your audience? No strings attached. They can just get it for free. Yes. And then you can say, and here's what I'd like to do for you. How about I create, let's say you were coming to Evans's podcast, all right? And you're like, okay, so Evans, what I'd like to do is give them something really valuable, to leave them something after the podcast is done that they could take and use in their business or their lives, make their life better, whatever it is that you're offering. Is it okay with you? I'd be like, yeah, sure, that's fine. I'm sure my audience would love it. Then what you could say to me is, well, Evans, how about I make it a little bit easier and I create, I can buy a URL, or you could even say I've already done this. I've already bought the URL, www.evansisawesome.com. And what I'd like to do is put that offer for that free download on that URL for you. Be easy for them to remember because they know your name. And that URL is also going to be an affiliate link. So if they do happen to buy something from me later, after they get that freebie, you're going to get a 50% commission. I would say, okay, that's great, because that is so much better than me saying, that person coming to me and saying, hey, how about I've got this cool new product coming out. Can I mention it to them? Can I pitch it to them? And I'll give you 50%. To me, at that point, it sounds like, no, I don't think so, because I don't want to do that to my audience. They trust me. They value what I give to them. I don't want to be a pitching, I don't want it to turn into a pitch fest. I don't want it to feel like we're trying to sell them something. So that's how you can go about it a different way to these people. Not only then at that point will that build up an audience for you as you prepare to launch your new thing, but it's also going to give you amazing JV partners that are willing to continue to promote that when people did that for us, not only did we let them put that in our podcast, we put that freebie into another thing that we had that people downloaded so that they could go in and get that and then go to the link from there, because we knew they were going into our freebie. We weren't sure that they were going to go into theirs, but we knew ours was proven to work. And also, we would put that out in the blog post. We would put it in our show notes. We did all kind of promotion for these people, these guests that came on our podcast, because they approached it the right way. Give first, serve first, and guess what? We want to reciprocate, and we appreciate that you're bringing that to our audience. So here's what we're going to do for you. We're going to promote your thing and get it out there for you, because yes, we're making 50% on it, or whatever you want to give them. I would recommend 50%. I mean, don't be one of these people that says, hey, I'll give you 10%, because we had those too. And you know what we said? No, thanks. We wanted people, it wasn't that the money wasn't even the issue for us. It wasn't the 10%. It was the fact that you were the kind of person that would only offer 10%. If you were the kind of person that would come straight up to us and say, I'm going to give you 60%, because I just appreciate the fact that I can get 40% free money. I mean, we would have doubled down on your promotions. That's the kind of person, it's the relationship. Like, we know our audience will benefit from you, and you have a serve first attitude. So I know I went a little bit off the rails on this. I hope that's okay if I over delivered a little bit on that back end, because I think that's really important for you all to know. Something that I learned from my past business as an entrepreneur, and it's the way I'm going to approach people here in the near future. Because guess what? This advice that Russell Brunson just gave us for free, I mean, just out of the blue, just popped into the coaching club, our private Facebook group. He shared that and I heard it. I was like, I got to share it with you. But guess what? I'm not just sharing it with you. I'm getting ready to implement this, because I am getting ready to launch something. And I'm not going to pitch it to you guys right now, because it's not a pitch fest. I'm just letting you know this was pure value, okay? So that's it. One thing I am going to say is, if you do want something for free, go to onepodcastaway.com/secret. onepodcastaway.com. onepodcastaway.com/secret. I'm actually giving away a free module, the Momentum module, where I tell you how to get your content out there and accelerate it. How we grew from 30,000 downloads a month to within 2 months, 75,000, to within 6 months, 150,000 plus average per month. Very important. As soon as you get that kind of listenership, and remember what we talked about, how those two guys said it, Russell Brunson, Steve Larson, myself, learned it, knew it, experienced it. Your podcast listeners will be your best buyers. Well, can't you see how having 150,000 downloads, 150,000 people listening per month would be much more beneficial than just 30,000 or 10,000 or 5,000? I mean, those are great numbers too, don't get me wrong. But the more listeners you can get, the more trust you can build, then the more amazing customers you're going to create. And most importantly for us, profitable, purposeful entrepreneurs, it's not just about creating customers, it's about creating impact. The more your impact can spread, the more people you can serve, the more ears you can get on your podcast and your message. So follow the advice, do what Russell says, get out there, start knocking it out the park. And if you have any questions or anything, just reach out to me and let me know, and I will try to help you. Come to our Facebook group, Profitable Purposeful Entrepreneurs. Ask the question there. Go to profitablepurposefulentrepreneur.com, the website. You can submit a email to me there. Ask me any questions you want, and I will be glad to answer you and hopefully help you on your journey as well. So I appreciate every one of you. I hope you found this valuable. I know I did. I'm off to iTunes right now to start categorizing my podcasts that I will be reaching out to, so I can start spreading my message further. Please do the same. And guess what? Here's something I'm just going to drop real quick. It's secret. I will be creating another interview style podcast very soon with some really, really high level people, and I'd love to have you on it too. So just keep listening. I don't have a way to reach out to me yet about that, and it's not launched yet. But if you want to get on that podcast, you are more than welcome to. Okay, and you don't even have to have an affiliate offer. Just come to me, let me know what you're doing, how you're trying to serve other people, and if you fit into what we're looking to share, which is basically a profitable, purposeful entrepreneur, someone who is serving, who wants to make an impact on the world, then I will be glad to have you on my podcast. I will be glad to promote you, and I will be glad to make sure you get more ears on your message so you can change the world and monetize your mission. Thanks a lot. Make it a great day. Talk to everybody soon. I appreciate each and every one of you. Hey, all my podcasting entrepreneur friends, this is Evans. Listen, I got a question for you guys. What is the big result you want with your podcast? It could be many answers. Is it to rapidly increase your subscribers? Do you want to attract top tier guests, the biggest names in your industries? Maybe you want to grow a large, engaged marketing list, an email list, Facebook Messenger list, maybe a Facebook group that is full of people who eagerly await you to come out with new offers so they can snatch them up because they know and trust you, right? Maybe it's you just want your podcast to deliver predictable income and profits without having to run ads from other companies. Well, here's the thing. The last company I was involved in, the one that I left right before coming here, I was in charge of growing that podcast and coming up with strategies just like those that delivered results just like those. We quickly got to over 4 million downloads. We averaged 150,000 plus downloads a month. And that all started at being stagnant at around 30,000 downloads and had been there for like 6 months. So we quickly grew that subscriber base. Once we did that, we were able to leverage that to get people like Grant Cardone, Robert Kiyosaki, Dean Graziosi, Barbara Corcoran, John Lee Dumas, Hal Elrod. Those are some of the people I know off the top of my head that were on the podcast. And what's even more important is we were able to then creatively come up with assets that we didn't even have to spend money and time to create, and use those assets to be able to build a marketing list in both emails, Facebook Messenger, and a massively engaged Facebook group. Okay, and these things were full of our listeners, people that trusted us, they loved us, they became customers. They were hyperactive buyers is what we like to call them, because when they bought again and again and again, all your upsells, all your downsells, everything you were selling practically. And the awesome thing is that we were able to turn this into predictable, profitable income. Over 500 grand in revenue from the podcast. And we didn't run any Facebook ads. We didn't have to spend any money on ads. We didn't have any outside companies placing ads in our podcast. This was all our profits and all true to our vision with our listeners. So I put together an awesome course on this. I'm building it right now, but you can go get on the wait list and get one of the biggest, most important modules for free. I just want you guys to have that as long as you get on the wait list. It'll be launching it is launching the week of May 20th. So go on and go there right now. It's onepodcastaway.com. ONE podcastaway.com, where you can learn more. Watch a testimonial from Pat, my former business partner, about how we grew his podcast, and just learn more about what's offered in this waiting list offer. This is a limited offer for just a few people who come over there and get on it in the next couple of weeks, because at that point we'll be launching the full course. But I want to make sure that I take care of you guys first and wanted to let you all know about it. So onepodcastaway.com. Go check it out. Shoot me a message if you have any questions. Come into the Facebook group. Find me online on Facebook. You can always email me at evans@onepodcastaway.com if you have any questions about the course, anything at all. I look forward to helping you guys grow your podcast and making money from your podcast for your business. Thanks a lot. Peace. Have a great day.